Every day. Every day.
You know, it's rare that we'll ever have a guest come back again. But, you know, we had such a technical shenanigans with our good friend, Brent Black. Very good friend. Like, can't believe it.
But so excited to have him on the show. So excited. And then technology got in the way a little bit.
Just got in the way.
He got kind of short shrift. So we wanted him back again.
It's this guy's fault, by the way. John Harrison, happy Monday 5.0 final release. Monday 5.0, by the way. I love that. It is great that we have him and new friend, Nate Woodruff, Whiskey with a View. So we're going to talk about a guy who nothing was going in the right direction. And boy, has he made that change. Whew, it's a smexy show today.
Yeah, he brings cool whiskey bottles to really amazing vista views that you have to hike 3 days to get to or whatever, and then takes a picture of the whiskey bottle in front of the view, posts it to Instagram, Whiskey with a View. And he's partnered with Armino Coffee Roasters, so now there's like a whiskey flavored coffee you can get, which I ordered. So I'm waiting for that. But you should explain why Brent is so awesome and how excited we are to have him here, because he's a game show host, YouTube creator.
Yeah,
you've been nerding out about this. Like,
I'm, the thing I have to strive to do is actually be a useful host to everybody this time around, because I think that my proclivity is just to geek on stuff that Brent did like 8 years ago. But he just released a Mega Man 3 end credit song today, so I think it's okay. We could talk a little bit of music. Hi, Mom and Dad. Hi, Coach Woodruff. Woodard. Sorry. The reason I made the mistake on Woodruff is because Steve Woodruff's son is Nate Woodruff, and we were friends with Steve. Carrie, the other thing I was curious about was when you get that coffee, what do you think it's going to taste like?
Whiskey. I got my sip in before you ended.
I saw you put it back down. I was like, come on, I can't get the button fast enough.
Welcome to the Backpack, the show where we bring you insights from unusual places that you need to succeed.
You really do. It's a business insights, business success. That's what we're here for. The big goal is that we're going to make sure that you understand. Oh my gosh, look who uncloaked. She hides all the time, and this time she's uncloaked. Hi, Leslie. Business insights, business success. But the idea is, we don't want to interview like my marketing turd head friends, which Carrie doesn't like that I keep saying that. But what we do,
marketing professional friends, and by the way, much as you are, so you put them in that category. You're putting yourself in that.
Yeah, we're marketing turd heads. That's why I could say it. It's like that Seinfeld where the guy married his Jewish wife so he could tell the Jewish jokes. Go find it. You could go find it if you want. So the idea of the show right now. The idea of the show, not the episode, the card. The idea of the show is that not every business is the same, right? Not everyone wakes up and says, I want to do an accounting, company. Not everybody says, I want to be a chartered public accountant. That's the phrase I was looking for from the, old Monty Python skits. Some people come from a very different perspective. And Coach Scott would ask us, no question, that what's the origin story, and so that's why I'm gonna bring up Brent first, because we have two great origin stories today, don't we?
Yes, we do. There's whole TikToks now where people are saying they're really like a struggling actor, but they tell people they're an accountant because nobody asks you any questions when you say you're an accountant. So if you just want to not have the conversation about how you like take pictures of whiskey for a living, if that's a conversation you don't feel like having, just say you're an accountant.
There you go. Well, that's what I used to say on airplanes. I'm a typist. What everyone thinks, that I type for the deaf or something, which is noble.
Hello,
hey, Brent.
Hey, how's it going?
Best day of my life. How are you?
Not bad. And boy, do I relate to that airplane thing. When you're a YouTuber, the second you tell somebody you're a YouTuber, they have 20 questions you don't want to answer. Then they insist on watching your videos, which in my case, there's a 1 in 100 chance that is an optimized experience for them. And 99 out of 100, they just stare blankly and they regret ever asking. And we have 2 more hours on a plane. So
just say you're an accountant.
Well, now that I'm a developer,
and you work at a place that does accounting.
Being a developer is something I'd like talking about much more, and strangely has a lot less questions, especially once they know they probably not heard of your game. So, but highly relatable what you said about that.
So what we're playing is just released today. You couldn't be any more fresh. Let's listen just for a quick second.
And now you're running through some grass up to a mountain pass.
Nate's on that mountain.
Like the time we watched you run in Mega Man 1. Remember that? I do. Wait, you see Proto Man in the sky. Dude, you're high. You shot a sconce that's constantly surprised, plus dragon eyes, and while he flying high above his castle, flashed those bedroom eyes.
So the production of these has changed over the years, that's for sure. You've upped your game over and over.
Yeah, when I started, I was not a video editor. Not really. I had made maybe 20 YouTube videos, but a lot of them had just been point the camera toward the thing. And what can I say? A lot of people were upset when Apple changed Final Cut Pro from a actual professional, pro piece of software to what you would call prosumer. But I had learned on iMovie, the Mac version of Windows Movie Maker, and the new Final Cut Pro is basically just iMovie with a million more bells and whistles. So yeah, I've gotten a little better over the years, and I have a new camera. So I think the production values are there, but crappy, weird Photoshop is still an essential part of the series.
That's what makes it all work. Fazia Burke is here. Hi, Fazia.
Hi, Fazia.
Nate's dad is here. He says the Armino coffee does taste delicious, even if you don't sip whiskey. You're his dad. You have to say that. Like Chris's parents have to be like, this show's great, Chris. Keep it up.
That's right. And look how happy John Harrison is that we got Brent Black back. That is, it's his damn fault. We were talking to John Bailey, Epic Voice Guy. And of course, everybody knows everybody. And John outs it on Twitter. Hey, we were talking about you, Brent Black. And Brent put his little heart on the tweet. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can reach brentalfloss. And I don't know if my son's listening or not, my 14-year-old son. And I used to watch every single release of your stuff, waiting for the premiere. Do you know what I mean? Just here it comes, Cave Story or whatever. We were down every time.
Len Joy is here, former guest, author. I just finished the first book of yours that I read and I loved it. Hello, Len.
So Brent, one thing I want to know, and then I'm going to ask sort of about evolution, because, this is one thing you do, but now you're a game show host and you made a party game, a very successful party game. What the hell were you doing before you became Brentalfloss?
Oh, well. I went through a series of knowing what I wanted to do, though they kept changing. I wrote a musical in high school. Then I decided I wanted to be an acting major. I got a degree in acting. Meanwhile, I was writing and directing my own musicals and really slacking off on the acting part. I found out that NYU has a very strange graduate program for musical theater writers, which is basically theater Hogwarts. And I got a degree in musical theater writing and immediately jumped into a combination of temping and catering jobs, but also in the summers teaching a musical theater course where I would actually write a show with a group of kids from 8 to 18, and then we would produce it. So during that first summer of doing that, I was just steeped in lyrics, steeped in songwriting, and bored as hell in Ardmore, Oklahoma. Of course, you've never heard of it. So I just had the theme song to Mega Man 3 in my head, 1990 Capcom game for the Nintendo. And I just thought, I don't know what possessed me, but I just wrote lyrics to it, made a little video, and the next day it had 10,000 views, which is something nowadays, but in 2008 was something. So
unheard of. 10,000 views.
So one of your fans is here under a fake name. That's dedication.
Yeah, I know which fan. So Brent, the lyrics thing and all that, I remember what you put in the backpack last time now, by the way, because I was thinking about
Doesn't matter. Today's a new day.
Your tome. Look at that. Coach Woodard says, I love Len's American pastime. See, now we're having crossover episodes.
I read Better Days. I loved it. Yeah, sorry, Brent.
Okay.
Oh, you're good.
But so, all right. It feels like, there's, the layers of the onion. It feels like you couldn't have picked more get beat upable things to be into.
Oh, yes, he could.
In layers. You know, he said, he goes, you know, musical theater lyricist. I'll do it around nerd games. You know, like he was just like looking for, is there like a decathlon of things to get beat up for?
Like when you want to get beat up and you don't want to wait.
And now that I've written a Star Trek musical, I'm really just like checking all of the boxes, all of the Airbnb amenities of a make funnable.
You have to say it. You have to say it, because when you say it, it really.
I'm going to
say the name of the musical. Is that what?
Yeah.
Oh, well,
it's got 3 exclamation points.
Yeah, it's properly titled Con the Musical. Both parts of it have 3 exclamation points.
Kapla.
Even better. Kapla.
I'm so here for it.
That was great.
There are many Kapla jokes actually in the show, because there's no Klingons in Wrath of Khan.
Yeah.
Right.
So, except for the simulated ones on the Kobayashi Maru test early on. So they have to be mentioned, because if you're going to do a Star Trek show and not mention Klingons, you gotta talk about the Klingons.
Well, when you want to get beat up and you don't want to wait.
That's right.
The evolution of the Klingons needs a really good documentary all on its own anyway. I mean, I love the occasional nod to like, why did your heads get squirgly, or, you know, what those kinds of things. I love the comedian who made the joke about Christopher Lloyd being in Search for Spock, and he did sort of the Reverend Jim Taxi version of Christopher Lloyd.
No.
So you don't want to give me the Genesis device?
Yeah.
Okie doke. And I forget which comedian did that.
Too bad that he was cast. A good actor was cast as like maybe not the best Star Trek villain, but anyway, we could do a whole hour on just that. So I will stop.
A whole hour.
We have to stop it.
You could come in. We could do like a theme week
series of 10. So Brent, along the way though, you know, the through line makes sense insofar as you just really pursue kind of the stretches of your creativity, especially where it comes to making your getting out some really cleverness, I guess, is what happens. So your music is all about really clever lyrics that go with songs that really have a passion spot in your heart and other people's heart, which is what brought, you know, my son and I to it, because who doesn't want the lyrics to Dr. Mario, which is still one of my favorites. And but then, you know, you make a party game. We talked about that a lot last time, so I'm not going to hit on it too hard, but you make a party game where you have to sort of, the thing I liked about it is you said you had to sort of pre-guess how absolutely not funny people would be and try your hardest to make it like idiot proof, basically, with use your words. My question, as it sort of pivots to your podcast and all that and other things, is we're all just people trying to figure out how to make a living as well. Like, you know, none of your specific projects made you $10 billion. So you have like FU money to, like, you know, right. I will buy a spaceship today. So what's your oh my belly because you just saw your bank account kind of moment, and what do you do then with your business, and like where do you go, where do you aim that stuff? I'm
a little confused by the question. Could you condense?
I'll do it again. So you're on the one side of this, I had to paint too much, unfortunately. On the one side of this, you're super creative and you just do your thing and people give you the money, but that's not always how it works. Or when you start to say money's a little tight, what do you do next when you think
you become an accountant?
I've got to do another project?
I think so I've worked at home for over 10 years, you know, generally on my own schedule and making my own projects. And the fear of leaving the house and doing a quote normal job is a big motivator, and not because I believe I'm above it. I've literally, when I was a caterer, I washed dishes in a tuxedo, because when they realize they don't have a sanitation person and you don't have any other clothes, you're James Bond with the scrub brush and the, you know. But to answer your question, I kind of always have a few projects on the docket. For better or worse, they're all getting more complicated. Like I have an idea for a side-scrolling game, but the concept of it would make it like a prototype could take 2 years. So, but like, that's a thing I want to do. And when money gets tight, you know, for whatever reason, I have an instinct to do a moonshot. As we talked about last time, I was in a lot of debt and moved home. I may have mentioned I moved home with my parents for a while, and I was like, what do I do? And I'd already had this idea for a game. We were slowly working on it. And I was like, we're going to railroad this. We're going to kickstart it, and I'm going to do it. And hope for the best. And I'm really due to fall on my face, to be fair. But that one, it didn't happen that way. And yeah, typically it's just, I think I have a lucky, like I've got some arty friends who don't really think in terms of whether people will pay money to experience it. And even though I've probably missed out on a lot of interesting experimental stuff that would really stretch me and explore some new weird stuff, I think that for me, the fear of going back, of working at an ice cream shop and having someone go, Brental Floss, is enough to make me just go, well, let's try something outside the box and hope that people pay money for it. And you try to make something that you'd personally pay money for.
That is the reality, by the way, for a lot of people who gain notoriety on YouTube. They don't make it to the point where they can earn money at it enough to live. So they are working at like a Starbucks or Barnes and Noble or something. And people are like, oh, Brental Floss. It happens. And then it's super uncomfortable for them because they're sort of at risk and out there.
Yeah.
And over the years, I've spent some time with some various people who are famous just for a particular meme or something. Like I'm friends with David After Dentist, the dad who filmed David After Dentist. He started showing up at a lot of our conferences and stuff. And
you're friends with him? I'm going to need you to set up a call because I had a lot of problems with that.
Well, and so did a lot of people. And so it's one of those things where at first it was like the funniest thing in the world. And the second it was like, wow, that was kind of exploitive. Like you can, if it's all on one thing, people can turn. So what Brent built was, Brent has all his music that everybody knows and people want to support that. Brent has a game that was super, super fun. You got to understand. So my son, my younger son, Harold, we play Jackbox. We have all of them and then some. And then, Use Your Words comes out. And I didn't know at first this was you, but we just heard about it. And maybe I was told this and I just forgot it. But I was like, holy cow, this is so fun. And we play it still. Like it's I have one of the older Xbox ones that has like no room. So if you want to like upload a real game like COD, it eats the whole rest of the game, but Use Your Words is there because you just never know if you need it.
That's right.
Thank you.
So you're welcome. There's no question. I just wanted to say nice things to you. So we're going to push you backstage because we have to talk about sponsors and things like that. But please stick around because I can't wait to hear what the backpack answer is because
you got it.
Fun.
Because it's changed.
Brent Black, Brental Floss. Stick with us. All right. Listen, things. So, you can make a show like this if you wanted. You really could. Yeah, could. You just go to cbrogan.me/StreamYard and make a show. Only yours will be better because you'll have 2 Brental Flosses.
It makes everything super, super easy.
Right.
It's really hard to mess it up, even though some people have managed. This week is very, very, very hard to mess it up.
Do you see how sweet today is going? It's just working. So cbrogan.me/StreamYard. Yeah, don't let me, damn it. We're also sponsored.
John's laughing at you.
I know. Well, because I called Brent's game not a real game. If you want to play a real game, but his is a party game. There's no leaderboard.
He makes a good point. That was perhaps not a good way to phrase it.
There's no pro streamers.
Nice.
There's no pro streamers playing. Use Your Words. There are YouTubers who definitely play Use Your Words because it is great content. It's good for laughs. I kind of imagine like the Vanos guys and all that. Anyway, sorry. Also sponsored by PubSite, pub-site.com. What's this do again, Carrie? What can we do with a site called pub-site.com?
So if you're an author and you want to have a website for yourself or for your book, or if you need a publisher website, but you have no idea how to build one, it's a super easy way for you to build a website. It's really easy to do on their platform. And if you don't want to do it, even though it's easy, they have people who will do it for you. It's incredibly easy. So you just want to do the creative work, write the book. They'll do the website, pub-site.com, and they have a 14-day free trial. And it's created by the agency who does the very best job in the world of any agency promoting authors and books. They know their stuff. They've been doing it for 25 years. So they know what kind of website you need. pub-site.com.
That's insane. It's insanity. It's virtual insanity. Were I to bring out a lyric. All right.
I'm surprised we got through this long without more lyrics. Hi, Steve Garfield.
You have to understand. Steve Garfield from SteveGarfield.com. You have to understand 2 things about my love for Brental Floss songs. Number 1, I love them. Number 2, I can't remember lyrics for beans.
It's true.
So in my head, I end up just humming the stupid notes, which is what's already existing on the game cartridge, but thinking of Brent's voice over it without the words. So
interesting. So you have Brent's voice in your head. So Whiskey Nate.
often. Yes.
His dad's been waiting in the wings.
Don't keep Steve waiting. All right. Whiskey Nate, how are you?
How we doing, guys?
So good. So how heavy is your backpack with all that whiskey in it when you're going around the country?
Usually hiking in about between 30 and 45 pounds on any given hike, because I mean, I try to only do one bottle of whiskey, but sometimes there's more. Then my camera, my gear, like my little, like, anything from first aid to survival kit to whatever I need. Like if I'm hiking in the winter, I need my spikes or something like that. So I don't have to do leg day anymore. I'll put it that way.
That's like go ruck, I was gonna say.
Yeah, that's a pretty decent amount of weight. So again, Coach Scott Woodard is here. I almost said your dad's name again. So Coach Scott Woodard is here. Origin story, Nate, because this is not your business. Wait, so your business, for people who don't quite fully understand it, or one part of your business, let's be real, is that you like roam around and take really cool pictures of whiskey in cool places and show off your reasonably okay body. And
wait, where's that yellow card?
Come on,
stop harassing Nate.
So, and you make it look great to have some whiskey. You can have a nice Tennessee roaming man in there. You can have Kettle Creek. I feel like half of these labels you just made on a printer and you bring them with people. And there's dog love for those of us who love a good dog, but not a cat. What the shit were you doing before this? Because it probably wasn't a hand soap guy. You didn't climb up mountains and show off hand soap.
Accountant.
So I mean, my first passion that I had was in high school. I went to a film academy for high school, so hence the visual aspect of my work. But after high school, didn't do well in college. Just dropped out. Just to be honest, just partied all the time and didn't care. And then tried to get,
you know that, right? Did we tell you that?
Tried to get an internship in New York, working with the film in the film industry, and that didn't happen. So, or I wasn't making enough, and I didn't want to commute. So I did what pretty much anybody in the film industry does. I went right to the bar restaurant scene. So worked bar restaurants for almost a decade, for 9 years. Same vein. Didn't really ever get out of that college mindset. I was basically just a frat boy without a frat. So I was going down a bad road for sure. I was not in a good state mentally, emotionally. I was physically healthy because I always had a very strong workout ethic and ate relatively healthy. And that was my excuse for doing whatever I wanted at night or on the weekends or whatever. So, I was stuck in that loop for a long time. And ironically enough, what pulled me out of, drinking myself into a coma every night was whiskey. So I didn't like whiskey before. I had a bad experience when I was younger. Spent a night hugging the porcelain throne, and told myself I'd never drink whiskey again. So I just drink, mix Captain Morgan drink, shots of Jaeger, Miller Lite, awful stuff. But except I'll still drink Miller Lite. But I found whiskey around the age of 24, 25. I had an old manager I was working at Applebee's at the time, give me a bottle of Maker's Mark, and it was right around my birthday, and I was like, I don't drink whiskey, Scott. And he goes, no, this isn't whiskey, this is bourbon.
This is bourbon. They all say that.
So he said, you're going to drink a glass of this on the rocks, one glass a night for a week straight, and you're going to love it.
It's like a prescription.
Yeah. So Scotty was kind of like one of those managers that I always looked up to. He was like, kind of like the father figure in the restaurant. And everyone has one of those in the restaurant business. And so I was like, all right, I trust you. So I started that very night. And sure enough, within 5 days, I was hooked. I felt, manly, if you will, because I'm drinking whiskey. I'm not drinking, the normal stuff. And then I just became fascinated I was like, well, if this is good, then there's got to be other stuff that's also good. So I started exploring, branching out right after bourbon.
When you start taking pictures of it, Nate, that's what we want to know.
Well, we're getting there. So basically, it was a great way for me and my father to reconnect and bond because he liked whiskey before, then he got really into it once I got into it. So we would get together every Saturday
Oh, cool.
and start splitting bottles. So I would take my leftover money from tips of bartending. My dad would take the money from, whichever, extra money he had from a client. We'd get some bottles and sit down and watch college football on Saturdays, eat nachos and drink whiskey together. That was our bonding moment. And it was a great way for us to both start getting into the various types of whiskey. Like we were going to Scotch, then bourbon, then Irish and Japanese. And then I just went all the way. I just went off. I started reviewing whiskeys all the time. And I would just do it on Instagram. There were maybe 3 other guys on Instagram that talked about whiskey. It was an easy platform. It was kind of like a journal for me. So I had no intention of it going anywhere. It was nice for me I'm a visual person. I had a picture of the bottle and I had my review and I could keep track of what I was drinking.
Now it's up to 80,000 followers. Like people super care what you're drinking and where you're drinking it, apparently.
But I said, okay, this is kind of cool. And people started, responding and asking my opinion on things. And I would get invited sometimes to a brand, for a brand to send me a bottle to review. And I'd go to Whiskey Guild meetups. I was trying to just integrate myself. Started running the whiskey cocktail program at the bar I was at, and I just became totally obsessed and geeked out and was studying constantly when I wasn't working. And then one day, the day that it all changed, I threw a bottle in my backpack. I was going on a hike that day. I've always been an outdoors guy ever since I was little, and I just put the bottle on a rock in a river, took a picture, did my review, and the traction, it just blew up. I'd never seen anything like it. So I was like, okay, well, I'm obviously onto something. Like I'm getting more followers, more likes. I'm just going to do this all the time. So I just started.
Wait, I have questions about that last one because how do you take the picture? Did you like set the phone on a rock because you can't hold the camera and the bottle and that you were holding it like this?
Oh no, I meet up with different people all over the country. So I mean, that was one of my buddies. His name's Aaron. He's a photographer and a professional bike rider.
You have an Instagram husband. I love it. You have an Instagram
husband.
If that's the case, I have many Instagram husbands and wives because I meet up with hundreds of people a year.
You're an Instagram polyamorous person.
Oh, now we know.
Let's talk about the coffee, though. How do you go? So now you're taking pictures of whiskey. How does that?
I tell all my friends that hike with me, I'm like, you're going to be my hand model today. But I have also set up my camera on a tripod and done.
So that's the wait. So it's not your hand. Like you're taking.
That was not my hand. No, that was my friend's hands.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So you will see various hands on the Instagram that are not mine.
But good. That's good.
All right.
So that just kind of like blew up, and I was working at that point. I had gotten a job in the whiskey industry part-time, working in New Jersey, and I just plugged away for another 7 years in the whiskey industry. And then I was fortunate enough with my photography, just got more and more popular, that I'm able to do this adventure I'm on now. I just brought on some sponsors, got rid of all my things, sold my home.
Let's talk more about sponsors and collaboration. How does that happen? Sure. So I ordered your whiskey coffee from Armino.com, Armino Coffee Roasters, who I super love actually, because they called me and asked what other coffee I would like as well, because apparently you get free shipping if you buy 2, and like I bought 1 because I wasn't paying attention. So they're sending me a free one. That's how awesome they are of some other thing. But so I will have many coffees this weekend and I will think of you while I do it. But how did that happen?
So that was an interesting one. I've always shot the whiskey bottles. And for this trip, I wanted to kind of branch out and bring on something that's associated with whiskey, but not just a whiskey bottle. And for that, for me as a coffee drinker, I decided that would be one of my main, I wanted to find a good coffee sponsor. So I had a friend of a friend set me up with Armino. They're awesome. They're out of Massachusetts. So I went and visited the roastery myself and sat down with them for several hours of a lot of caffeinated goodness and created a blend of coffee that appeals to the whiskey drinker's palate. So it's got 3 different types of beans. Some of them are bourbon barrel aged. So they do have some good sweetness to it. And it does actually mix very well with whiskey. So you can, if you want a little shot of extra on your day off, it's delicious with that. But it's
great. It had 1
for me.
5-star review, Nate, and I was like, "Was that your dad?" But it says Stacy, so I think it wasn't your dad.
But yes, I mean, now that coffee goes around with me everywhere, and it's great. It's a nice way for me to help fund the trips, and since it's a collaboration, and the folks over at Armeno have been absolutely amazing, and their coffee in general. Most of my friends that have ordered coffee have also gotten their other expressions and beans, and they're just a fantastic family owned place. They're situated.
Expressions, is that what you call it?
I'm sorry.
Expressions?
That's what I call whiskey. I don't know what to call coffee. I'm just going with the terms I know. But yeah, I mean they're in a mill. It's like an old mill. It's beautiful. And it's in Massachusetts and completely family owned and operated. It was a really cool experience. I'm looking forward to stopping through there again when I go back to the Northeast for a month in the fall.
Now I want to go too.
Where in Massachusetts, by the way? Just curious, is it out west or like what part of Massachusetts?
Yes, it's about, I want to say 30 minutes west of Boston.
Okay.
I could be wrong. But it's if you're driving down the East Coast, it's very easy to get to. And I highly recommend it. It's beautiful.
I'm sort of an hour and a quarter diagonally upright towards the mountains, by the way, the White Mountains and all the other places you haven't lately.
I'll be doing my first presidential traverse in the Whites this fall.
There you go. You could stop by for some coffee if you want, and we could have it at 6 feet away, and it'd be great.
Well, let's be conservative.
Works for me.
10 feet away.
I'll make you my hand model. Be careful.
I am super down. I'm ready.
I'm
small hands.
Fair warning, I've been doing my own nails since March, so I can't.
I haven't done my nails in months, so I look a little less homeless than I normally do today for you guys. I took a shower last night.
Thank you. That's so nice. You didn't have
to
do
amazing.
That. We love the homeless look on this show. Bob Collins was once asked how to make a good Irish coffee, and the advice he got was use less whiskey.
Use less coffee.
Use less coffee. Sorry, less coffee.
Sweet zombie Jesus. No, it's that. All right.
Well,
so Nate, I have a question about the process now. So you are like a man untethered. Clearly, here you are over in somewhere Idaho, and you are out there doing your own thing. And for some reason, people are giving you a bag of money for that. It's all sponsorships from the whiskey people. Like, what's the prognosis on where it goes, or do you even think like that? Do you just say, well, this is the horse I'm on right now?
Yeah, I'm a very spontaneous, live in the moment kind of person. So I have no idea what the hell is going to happen after this. I have some ideas percolating, but I'm not sure how I want to proceed. But yeah, for this, I mean, I'm making enough to fund the trip. Trust me, I'm not making a lot of money. I started off the way I like to say, I started off this trip almost broken in debt, and I'm probably going to end it almost broken in debt. And I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
Because money to me means nothing other than providing me with a means to experience life. I don't care about material possessions. Obviously, I live out of a van. And for me, it's just every single day I get to wake up and just do whatever I want. And I'm fortunate with my sponsors that they trust me. They know my vision. They've seen my work for years. And they basically just said, here are the bottles. Here's your monthly stipend, and do what you do best. So
Tara says there's lots and lots of Whiskey Mountain photo opportunities in Scotland.
I was in Scotland last year. It was absolutely stunning. I can't wait to go back.
Well, you should put Fife on your map. Put Fife on the map. That's where you got to go.
Tara sketches Fife. She's another person who realized she had this talent and left the job she was doing to devote her time to the thing she loved, which is sketching.
And she has dogs. So
that's one of the ideas I have for next year or the year after is I want to backpack to all 130 distilleries in Scotland over the course of 6 months.
Get some sponsors. Let's do this.
Yeah.
I got all of them right there.
No shortage of hand models in Scotland.
Super quick question for you on that. What is your go-to hangover cure?
My go-to hangover cure. I'm a bit masochistic, so if I'm really hungover, I like to do a very long hike, sweat it out, make myself regret it. But if I'm not doing that, if I was back in New Jersey, we have a wonderful little sandwich called Taylor ham, egg, and cheese that will cure everything. It's just a delicious, greasy meat sandwich. That'll get it done. If I'm feeling extra frisky and I'm not doing anything that day, I just crack a beer. That'll sort you right out.
Hair of the dog.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, listen, there's this other guy. His name's Brent Black. We're going to bring you all together.
Hi, Brent. We should have warned you.
Hello.
We're not warning you. There's no warning on this show.
No worries.
Crying in baseball. Nate was talking about, so again, the weird / awesome thing about this, we know Nate's dad for years. And I don't, Carrie doesn't live all that far from Nate's dad. And
Steve Woodruff, the clarity coach.
He's a guy who helps me with clarity and helps so many other people get it figured out as well.
Bob's hangover cure is eggs and cheese.
Oh yeah. Well, those are in the Taylor ham sandwich.
Yeah.
You just have to put some Taylor ham in there and some bread.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But so I had a question that came out of thinking about Nate and Steve, because I know that you can have rocky times with a parent when they don't quite understand. I have very loving parents. They most definitely had no idea where I was going in my trajectory. At every single turn, they were like, I don't, and I would just do the thing because I'm an idiot. I had to do the thing. I'm curious to know, Brent, what was your family? You mentioned the moment where you had to kind of dip back in for a bit to kind of reset. I did that early. And what did they think every time you're like, I'm making a new musical about Star Trek, or how's that work?
The funny thing about my mom specifically is I don't think she realizes this. She goes in this cycle of surprise, acceptance, and then attachment. So every time I do a new thing, okay, let me explain. So I actually was a child actor, not famous. I was in a couple commercials and industrial films, more of an entertainer than an actor. So when I started to want to write musicals professionally in high school, she was like, well, what about acting? And then I was an acting major, but I was writing musicals. And then I decided to do a YouTube channel. She's like, when are you going to get back to writing musicals?
She wants you to pick something. That's what she wants.
And then I started making a party game, and she's like, so are you done with YouTube? You're not going to get back to that? And like, it's every time it's the thing that was a surprise and a terrible idea is now something she'll miss that she's, wanting me to go back to. But my parents are pretty supportive. I've been pretty lucky in that. And it's a function of the fact that I just was in the right place at the right time. I feel like my YouTube success really started with luck. And it was just like, if I can keep the momentum of that rolling, another metaphor is keep the furnace hot by constantly shoveling more coal in, I might be able to continue having it be a living.
That is not Brent. We should stop it.
That was totally Brent. I'm just,
my home movies are quite delicately shot on old 8mm. But yeah, my friend Spanky, cool guy.
You stay in touch. No, the minute you said a child actor, entertainer, and then said industrial films, I stopped thinking about anything else because I just thought of like safety films, like don't let a little child into this rotor.
I was on, I think it was a commercial or maybe an internal film for a backup beeping, like a thing you put on your car to beep when you back up. And I was the little kid that almost got hit on his bike in the don't let this happen to you. But if people want to watch those videos, by the way, I have 2 of them on my YouTube channel, and they're called Floshback, which is the word floss and then H back, Floshback. If you want to watch a weird little montage of my child acting days.
I feel like I missed the boat on that one. I was just an ugly kid, so it's not going to happen for me.
I definitely was a cute cherub. They would cast me in, for some reason, lots of meat and cheese related stuff. Like, I think I just looked like this kind of vaguely chubby little Aryan child who definitely was a meat eater. But then I hit puberty and there was a phase where they didn't quite know where to cast me because, hey, that's puberty.
Like the awkward stage. My mom had designs on me being a skater, like an ice skater. So she brought me down to take skating lessons. And I remember this vividly. I was like 4. And the lady said, okay, everyone, we're going to run across the ice on our skates. And I'm like, oh, no. And I just laid down and went to sleep. My mom had to come get me.
Nice.
Drag it back up the ice.
A very independent choice, though.
Yeah, I was a little willful.
So Nate, I have a similar question about child Nate. You couldn't have imagined, I think I'll hike mountains for a living and put whiskey bottles on rocks.
No.
What did you think you wanted to be when you grew up?
I didn't really, I'm sure I had the typical aspirations to be a fireman or astronaut or something like that. But I was always more the creative type. Like I was always into still am into like fantasy novels like, Lord of the Rings and Chronicles of Narnia I grew up on, and I was always a bookworm. But I didn't really, the only time I really felt that I had a direction was when I really wanted to become a filmmaker. And then once that went away and I wasn't able to do that, then I felt nothing until I got back into the whiskey thing. But I never really had a set goal as a kid. I mean, I don't even have a set goal now. I don't know where I'm going to end up on this wild ride. I just know it's going to involve whiskey and photography. That's about all I got. And, but yeah, no, I never really had the aspiration. I never knew what I wanted to be, but I knew I was creative. That was the one thing I had.
Whiskey and photography. Well, you could be a drunk child portrait guy at Sears. I think that would.
Hey, worst comes to worst.
I don't think there's any Sears. Nate Woodruff is so handsome, and he keeps milk duds in his beard.
Mr. Jason.
Jason
and I worked together on Buffalo Trace.
Oh, good choice. Good choice. That is a fine product.
Love me some Falls. He was on the Backpack Show earlier this week.
Yeah, he was.
Good man.
So, and he brought us a few really nice master distillers who you probably know, Marianne Eves, and Denny
she's
Potter.
A sweetheart.
Yeah, so good crowd you have over there in Whiskeyville.
We're all so happy. I don't know what it is.
It's whiskey.
Brent, I have a question as that relates. I've asked you 2 times now, kind of like, hey, what's it like, doing co-projects with guys like John Bailey? Hey, do you know Video Games Live guy? And, both times, of course you did. Is it like how, absolutely, Carrie, is it a fraternity, or like, do you guys not talk that much ever in between all this kind of stuff?
It is, so I'm sure, if you work the convention circuit, there is a spectrum. In my case, it's a triangle of fan, friend, and colleague. And maybe triangle isn't fair because, well, the point being that sometimes a fan can be someone you have a drink with and you go, well, they liked my stuff before we met, but they're cool. And if I see them again at a con, we'll have a warm rapport. And sometimes even that a few times has become like good lifelong friends. There's colleague, which is someone you respect and someone, but what I really mean by colleague is you don't get along with them in that way. And ironically, maybe I'm using ironically wrong. A lot of times the people whose material you really like disappoint you or just don't live up to their personality. I wouldn't use the word disappoint for this next one, but when I first met James Rolfe, the angry video game nerd, I expected a big personality that would match mine. And in real life, he's a comparatively soft-spoken, pretty shy guy, kind of goes along with whatever people are saying. And at first, I really thought he didn't like me. I thought he was clamming up because he thought I was a jerk. That really is more about me, and I should talk about that in therapy, maybe not this show. But the point is that, like, but then you have people that whether you like their stuff or not, you just really get on. Probably one of the biggest examples of this for me is Gerard Khalil, who has a series called The Completionist, where he takes a game and he plays, he 100%s it, gets every little bonus thing, every side quest. And we just really get along, and there's lots of people like that. So while I think I've actually forgotten the exact wording of your question, I think I've spoken enough.
You're good. The show for people with ADD.
Wheel her off the rails.
All right. We're at that point in the show, which is the wrap-up point in the show, which is the question is, what goes in your backpack? Now, metaphorically, because Nate has the real backpack and kind of lives out of it, but metaphorically, we're in a really weird time. And over the next 5 years, we're going to need something to get us through it. And the reason Carrie and I find the people we do and bring the people on the show is that we're trying to give you insights that you're not going to get from your accountant friend or your marketing turd head neighbor or anything like that. You've got to go out to mountain climbing whiskey people, and you've got to go to people who make musicals out of Star Trek 2. It is super important to get these kinds of insights. So the question is, Brent and Nate, what goes in your backpack? I guess, Brent, you prepared, so I'm going to let you go first.
Okay, so I have taught before, and this is one of my things that I teach, and also whenever I get asked advice from people about what to do if they want to start an artistic thing, I sometimes say this. So what to take in your backpack is all the stuff in your incomplete kitchen, your small frying pan, but not a big one, your spatula, but not a pie server, cumin, but you don't have oregano. I think every artist has this incomplete, arbitrary collection of things in a metaphorical kitchen. And too often people will be like, okay, I don't have this ingredient, but I'm really going to try to make the same dish as my idol, or as the thing I'm trying to emulate. And I think that especially if you're trying to start a brand, start a series, start a new venture artistically, the goal is to try to figure out what really good dish you can make specifically with what you have. And it might actually not be what you thought you were going to make. It might not even be something that you really love making. But I think that the thing that's most likely to get you to really engage people with your art is to figure out what specifically you can do that others can't. So all those pieces of your kitchen, the things you have in there, put them in a big cargo size backpack.
That's going to be a big backpack for sure.
Extra masks, says
Yes.
Christopher Vogelman.
Yes. Like a
Carol,
big Santa Claus bag,
Carol
basically.
loves you.
By the way, Dr. Christopher Vogelman, let's just go there. Nate Woodruff, you have a real backpack that you kind of live out of right now. So it's a little weirder to ask you, because you'll be like, well, I don't know, 2 pairs of socks, one heavy, one small. Like, you know, you're like Fight Club scene. What is your thing that you want to put?
All right, so I'll think outside the box. I mean, if I'm in a situation, I'm practical. So I have everything from, you know, first aid to survival gear to whatnot. But I would say, if we're going into this, like how the world's kind of going to hell right now, and you kind of want your boogie bag and make sure that you've got everything that you need in it. I think for one thing is, people think very practically, physically, as I do, but you also have to prepare mentally. Mm-hmm. So my recommendation is to pack the things you need to survive, and for me personally, in the wilderness, and also pack a book you hate.
Why a book you hate?
Pack a book you hate, because at the end of the day, the thing you appreciate the least is already in your backpack. So it makes everything work out all right. And then you may actually learn to enjoy the thing that you hate.
Wow.
Because it's all you got left to keep you mentally sharp.
There is meat on that bone. I can't. We have to wrap this stupid show up. Hang on a minute. Get out of here. Clap, clap, clap. Pack a book that you hate. I think that's a life lesson. The doctor is optional.
You'll learn to like it.
All right. I'm hitting a button. Person of the day. So we have a thing on here. Person of the day, sponsored by pub-site.com. Go to pub-site.com, because you can make authors can make a really cool website that'll promote their book. Oddly, somewhat connectedly, the person of the day is author Len Joy, sports author, thriller author, and whatever he damn well feels like writing author. That's who he is. Fiction
writer, sports fiction award-winning, and he's also a triathlete.
You know, in his spare time, because that's what you do. That's what you do. That's our person of the day.
Because he had a very interesting career path, much as you two did. So he was in engine remanufacturing for like 15 years, and then sold that factory and was like, I'm going to be an author and a triathlete.
Yeah.
This is going to do it. So there's like a interesting that you guys are like kindred spirits.
Yeah. That's why that's the reasons. So that's, you know, we're at that point in the show. I was thinking about a good sipping whiskey, and, you know, my grandmother had a few recommendations for whiskey. My grandmother was a big fan